Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, kevSpec. Well, on today's video, we're doing a rust repair on the FG. That's right, I've got a little bit of rust in one of my doors. I'll tell you how and why in a minute. So stay along for the ride. I'm not a qualified panel beater, so this is just a kevSpec how-to. I'm going to give it a crack myself. I've been putting this off for a few years now, but if you let rust go, it's only going to get worse and it's going to come through the outside of the door. So I'll show you how I'm going to go about it, and stay along for the ride. Enjoy the video. Alrighty guys, so here's a little summary of the bits and pieces you'll need, and this doesn't mean I'm going to go back into my toolbox 10 times and get more stuff. So the basics, some screwdrivers to dig out the heavy stuff and get the flaky stuff off first. I've got a well-worn flapper disc on my grinder. I think it's a 120 or an 80, I'm not sure. I do have a newer flapper disc that's more aggressive, so if this one, I want to always start off gentle, yeah? You don't want to take too much metal away. So that'll get into the rust. Torch, so you can see what you're doing. Wire brush. Got some rust converter sealer there, so once we've dug out all the rust, grinded it all back and it's all pretty clean, we'll hit it with the rust converter. Bit of primer. And some touch-up paint to go over it when we're done. So let's get into it. Let's dig this rust out. Alright, so this is what we're looking at. This is the left-hand passenger door underneath the door, so that's the bottom of the door trim there. So you can see, I'll zoom in and show you, I've got a little bit of rust here. It's right in the door seam where the factory seam sealer meets the panel. There's a little strip in there. Now, a couple of years ago I just quickly wire brushed it and chucked some rust converter on there, but I want to try and make it a bit nicer. So that bit's not too bad. It's this bit down here that's the issue. I'll zoom in and show you a bit better. Okay, the camera doesn't want to focus today, so I hope this is coming in all right. So that's that one. It's not too bad. You can see it's got a bit of primer converter on it. But this one here, hopefully the camera's going to focus. This one here needs a bit more attention. You can see there, she's a bit rusty. So we're going to fix that, and we're going to try to. So let's get into it. Alright, I'm just going to put a bit of masking tape where I'm trying to protect a little bit so I don't scratch the paint too much. Just to give it a bit of protection from, you know, grinding and wire brushing and stuff. Whenever you're doing this sort of stuff, guys, less is always better, because you can't replace the metal once you've gone too far. And if you dig into paintwork or, you know, accidentally scratch something, take a little bit of time and prepare the area, mask it off, whatever you need to do, just to give yourself that little bit of protection. Okay, let's dig into this and see what we're dealing with. So this one doesn't look too bad, to be honest. Just right on the surface. Alright, so I've just knocked off all the sort of heavy stuff with the screwdriver on this one. Got all the heavy, you know, rusty bits off. It's really not too bad, this one at all. It's only a couple of little tiny bits that I'd actually call rust. The rust converter primer sealer I put on a couple of years ago, it's done its job and prevented it from at least getting any worse, on this one anyway. I'm just going to hit it with some coarse sandpaper. It's probably equivalent to 120 or something. Got a little special tool here so I can get into the corners there. Okay guys, so this has gotten a little bit worse. This small rust repair on the end of the door here, I've just started to peel back some of this seam sealer, and the rust is under there. So you've got to go all the way. You've got to keep chasing it until you see no rust. So I'm going to keep chipping this seam sealer away along here until it stops, and hopefully it stops. Sorry about the shaky camera work. I've got to try and do this one-handed, but it keeps going. So that's the end of the door there, that's the outside. And as I peel this seam sealer off, as you can see, it continues on. So this is a bit worse than I thought. I've got to get it all out. You can see by how easy the seam seal is coming up that there's something underneath it, so it's all got to come off. Another rust spot there. It's actually starting to travel up the door a bit. No. Yeah, it's all along this seam. It's all going to have to come off. I'll probably get the angle grinder out soon and take this seam back. This is the bad bit. Yeah, look at that. It's all rusty underneath there. Yeah, look at that. It's all rusty underneath there, so it's all going to come off. Hopefully this stops soon. Maybe. Looks like it's going to be the whole door. It's starting to get better now, so might as well do the whole thing, eh? Alright, I've got a paint scraper here that's a bit better for the job getting this seam sealer off. Just like that. Yeah, so this car had been in an accident when I bought it. I've had this car about 2012, what's that, 11, 12 years now. And had a decent impact down this side. The left-hand front door was replaced, the guard was replaced, there was damage in the quarter. Yeah, fairly decent little side swipe. And I noticed this a couple of years ago, and like I said, I just sort of covered it with some rust converter, sort of hoping she'd be right. But obviously the moisture and whatever's got underneath the seam sealer, and it's where we are at today. So you can see here where I started sanding that top bit above the seam sealer, and you can see quite clearly what was hiding underneath the seam sealer. So if I didn't get that, there's no point when you're doing rust repairs. 99% or even 80% of the rust removal is not good enough. You've got to get 100% of it out or it will come back. So yeah, we're going to attack this with the flapper disc and see if we can get all this cleaned up. See a bit of progress here with the grinder. Down this end, I'm almost taking a little bit of this, the outer skin lip. I've got to grind that back a little bit so I can actually get into the crack. And I'm going very slowly with the angle grinder with the flapper disc, not a grinding disc, because it'll get too hot. I don't want to burn the other, like get it hot and the paint bubble on the other side. I've even got a bucket of water with a rag so I can wet it down. So we're making progress. The camera will focus. We're getting there. Alright, we're getting there, guys. Just got most of the rust out then. It's been a tough struggle. Got to go really slowly, yeah, so I don't heat up the outer skin and burn the paint or bubble the paint. So I've just been going really slowly. I've been out here for probably 2 hours, maybe more. Just bit by bit, slowly. Now we're going to put the flapper disc on. This one's a lot milder. I've just been using a cutting wheel to get into that groove to try and get all the rust out. We're going to put the flapper disc on and give it a clean up. So guys, there you have it. That's about as far as I'm prepared to go. I've ground back as much as I dare. There's still a little bit in this crack here, if you can see. But she's all ground back right along the door sill. So we're going to hit it with some rust converter and then prime it. And no, I'm not overly concerned with the grinding marks in here. No one's ever going to see this. It's not a good part of the Duco where it needs to be special. I might sand the undercoat back a little bit to give it a little bit more, be a bit more presentable. Let's hit it with some rust converter. So before I hit this area with rust converter, I'm going to give it a really good clean down with Prepsol and thinners. Make sure there's no dirt or any crap in there. It's all ground back along there. Time to hit it with some rust converter. Just giving it a good clean out with the wire brush to make sure there's no debris in there. Alrighty guys, so we've got our rust converter sealer primer here. Just your basic old super cheap brand. Let's start applying. Right, you can see a bit of rust converter on there now. Oh, the camera just won't focus today. Bad lighting, I know guys. You can sort of see there, I've given it one coat of rust protector. Camera will focus. yeah, that's all primed in rust converter. Ready to go for a second coat, and then we'll hit it with primer. Alright, so we've given that a couple of hours to dry. The rust converter's on there. It's come up pretty nice. So yeah, let's hit it with some primer. Righty, we'll let that dry. We'll give it another coat. Alright, so it's one coat of undercoat. I'll let that flash off for about 20 minutes. We'll hit it with another coat of undercoat. You wouldn't believe it, it's been 30 degrees and beautiful sunny all day, and it's now windy and rainy and cold. Typical Melbourne, but I'll battle on regardless. It's still sort of above 20 degrees, so okay for painting. Let's hit this again. Alright, we'll let that dry and we'll hit it with some colour. Alright, there's our 2 coats of primer done. Let them flash off, probably 20 minutes, half an hour in between coats, and I just hit it with the heat gun slightly because the weather has chilled down a bit here in Melbourne. So yeah, she's come up alright. The camera's going to focus. Yeah. It's a real light first dusting sort of coat. Alright, we'll let that set and we'll hit it again. Just got some colour made up from Super Cheap Auto. About 40 bucks for a base coat colour made up. Not too shabby. We'll see how it all goes. Alrighty guys, time to hit it with another final, probably a final coat of top coat. Only needs a couple. Alright. We'll let that flash off for 10 minutes and we'll hit it again. Alright, final coat of top coat here. All right, now's our final coat, a little bit of a top coat of clear, just to seal it, seal the deal, so to speak, and we'll be done. Right, so it's the final coat of clear going on and we'll be done. Alrighty guys, bit of a look at the finished result here. It's come up pretty well. I won't know till I rip the tape off, the colour match, and I dare say it won't be as good as it could be, but it is what it is. This is never going to be seen. It's right at the bottom of the door. It's a who cares sort of a spot. The whole purpose of today was prevention and cure. I needed to remove that rust and stop it from coming back, and I reckon I've done that. So there she is. It's not the prettiest, but I've killed the rust, and that was the point of today's little exercise. Come on. Jazzy. Come on. Come here. Come on. Come here. Good girl. Looks like Jazzy wants to be in the video. It's my little Jack Russell puppy, Jazzy. Hey, Jazz. You a good girl? Come on. Jazzy. Come on, Jazz. Come here. Come here. Come here. Good girl. Good girl. Wanna be in the video? Hey, wanna be in the video? Alrighty. Alrighty guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you like this kevSpec rust repair on his FG Falcon. It was never meant to be pretty, so don't scathe me on how it looks. It was meant to get rid of the rust, stop the rust from coming back, and cover it just to make it look a little bit nicer. So, if you like the video, give it a subscribe, give it a like, stay safe and love yous. Say bye, Jazzy. Bye-bye.